The full storyline of The Tomb explained and simplified, going over all of the key information you need to know to bridge the gap from Citadel Daymore to Mansion, back at Liberty Falls. Alistair Rhodes has returned to the COD Zombie storyline, Gray and Maya might be getting set up for a potential romance, and Richtofen Soul is once again on the table for discussion. All of this and more will be discussed in this video, so stay tuned. The Tomb's release, while relatively controversial in the community in terms of its content and Easter egg, has still managed to deliver ample story content for me to deep dive in videos. So far, most of the content I've made has been finding a single line or a few important ones and having deeper discussions on the implications this dialogue would have. Essentially, most of the story is in a deeper layer that requires some thought and discussion, and while this has been beneficial for us to have so much deep content, I think that because of this, we've sort of let the map's actual intel and radios fall to the wayside as we deep dive offhanded data entries from the S.A.M AI. And so, in this video, I want to explain the full story of The Tomb. What happened to create this dig site, what happened to Archibald, and what kind of stuff is in the intel. Let's start in the past and work our way to current day. Most of the intel in The Tomb is set in the past, chronicling the conversations between Archibald Fotherington Smite, the map's unique narrator character speaking as an echo from the Obscurus Attilium amulet, and Alistair Rhodes, one of the main characters of the Chaos storyline, as well as the friend and financer of Archibald's operation. But considering just how much intel and dialogue he gets in the map, listening to all of it together would take far too long. Instead, I'll tell you the story of Archibald myself. Sir Archibald Fotherington Smite was a man of contradictions. Brilliant, boastful, and perpetually teetering on the edge of disaster. A renowned archaeologist and close associate of Alistair Rhodes, he had navigated many perilous digs, often with more flair than caution. Yet nothing could have prepared him for the events that unfolded beneath the cursed barrow. It began, as stories do, with an invitation.
Dashed decent of you to have me out to the country pile for a spot of shooting on.
Pish and tosh. Think nothing of it. It's been, 5 years? Far too long. Besides, my motives aren't entirely altruistic.
Archibald had greeted Rhodes cheerily, but Rhodes's motives were not entirely altruistic. He needed Archibald to investigate a Neolithic mound in the south of France, rumoured to house a Sentinel artifact, a powerful relic linked to ancient rites and supernatural forces. Rhodes confided. This small name drop and the later mention of Scarlet Rhodes's name hinted at deeper connections to their shared past, as well as the shared past of the Dark Ether and the Chaos story. Despite his reservations, the promise of adventure and drinks galore lured Archibald in. The dig began with high spirits. In his first diary entry, Archibald marvelled at the barrow's ancient construction.
As we delve ever deeper, one cannot help but be struck by the sophistication of the construction of this place. You shouldn't be surprised, I suppose. The ancient Egyptians were well into their obsession with building bloody great triangles in the middle of the Bali Desert by the time this went up.
Intel findings suggested Roman desecration on a sacred burial site. Pottery shards and religious artifacts littered the earth, hinting at both spiritual and violent histories. Yet despite the grandeur of the place, a dark atmosphere began to seep into the camp. Disaster struck on day 15. An ancient arrow trap skewered 3 porters. Archibald, ever the master of poor timing, muttered, "Let's hope they are fresh out of arrows," earning mutinous glares from the remaining men. The Sentinel artifact seemed to beckon from the shadows. On day 19, Archibald recorded unsettling observations.
The atmosphere is starting to get to me, just as Rhodes said it might. This barrow is different from the other venerable tombs I've had the fortune to grace. Almost feels like it's waiting? Yes, that's it. Laying in wait, what?
Even his ever-loyal footman, Bernard Potts, grew sullen and distant. Potts' own journal reflected growing dread. The men are broken. Something is coming. By day 23, Potts led a group in desertion, stealing the last of the wine and provisions. Archibald's sense of betrayal was palpable.
Damn it all, Marjorie. Potts was my Batman. Has been for years. Chap simply doesn't expect his valet to up and leave that way.
Despite dwindling resources, Archibald pressed on, determined to find the Sentinel artifact. Archibald finally reached a monolithic crystal shard deep within the Barrow's cavernous heart. The relic pulsed with dark energy, and Archibald claimed it triumphantly. This, combined with a strange staff he unearthed nearby, would later be forged into the powerful Ice Staff, a weapon of immense destructive potential. But his victory was interrupted by the return of Potts, or rather, what Potts had become, twisted by the dark energies of the Nexus. The once faithful valet was now a monstrous creature, leading other undead former soldiers. A fierce battle ensued. Archibald fought with surprising resolve, stabbing Potts through the skull with his knife, a grim reminder of the man's fate. The skull remained at the altar, a silent witness to the conflict, and a collectible intel for us. Having defeated Potts, Archibald pressed forward to solve the final puzzle that would open the bridge to the Sentinel Artifact's arena. For the first time, he saw the artifact clearly from a distance, a powerful, ancient relic with an aura that seemed to warp reality itself. Upon crossing the threshold, he found what appeared to be a bottle of port waiting as if in reward for his efforts. Ever the lover of fine wine, Archibald reached for it, raising the bottle to his lips. But the bottle was no ordinary vintage, it was a mimic in disguise. With a horrific snap, the mimic devoured Archibald whole. His bones were spat out unceremoniously in the arena, but the mimic kept his monocle within its cursed stomach, where it would remain for nearly a century. Though Sir Archibald met a grisly fate, his monocle and the Ice Staff, both relics of tremendous power, were recovered by us during our adventures in the tomb. The echoes of his pompous bluster and doomed bravado still linger in the tomb, guiding those who dare retrace his ill-fated steps. Most importantly, his tale confirmed a critical truth. The Chaos storyline, once thought separate from the Dark Ether narrative, was in fact its precursor. A revelation underscored by the artifacts and Archibald's ties to Alistair, Scarlet Rhodes, and Stanton Shaw. In the end, Sir Archibald Fotherington Smite became both a cautionary tale and a tragic, if somewhat comedic, hero of the Dark Ether saga. May his memory and his wine-soaked antics endure forever. Now that that's out of the way, what about the modern day? What is happening with the current characters? Well, the Terminus crew find their way to the bottom of the tomb, enter the Dark Ether in Archibald's footsteps, and eventually seemingly complete the trial and receive the artifact. The amulet joins the artifact, seemingly powering it as it glows a purple and fixes it. Unfortunately, before we can get any exposition from anyone on how they are feeling, the Samurai immediately takes us over the ending, and is the only character to get real dialogue in the outro. This means it's a tad more difficult to see the changes in the mental states of the characters based off of the events of the tomb, as we did with Citadel Day Moore and Terminus, but we can use the intel and a few of their conversations to get a better idea of where people's heads are. The most interesting dynamic shift in the tomb, in my opinion, is that of Elizabeth Grey and Maya Aguinaldo. Grey and Maya were initially not very talkative with each other, and usually when they have spoken in prior maps, it's been specifically to argue about Maya's friendship with Peck. However, through their character conversations in the tomb, as well as an intel between the two of them, we can see a new dynamic begin to emerge, and one that may suggest a blossoming, more than a friendship between the two, somewhat similar to Grey and Samantha Maxis. The two seem to bond via their shared experience in loss, Grey with Maxis and Maya with Nathan. Unlike Archibald, who got quite a lot of intel, this single radio is something we can listen to together in its entirety without destroying the pace of this video.
So you got any plans after this? After what, exactly? The whole bringing your friend back with the help of Hell's tech support thing? You know, I really don't. Thought that might be the case. I haven't just gotten off the revenge wagon myself. You have that look about you. How very insightful of you. Hey, with Nathan gone, I've got no crew, which in my profession is a super shitty spot to be in. I'm so sorry about Nathan. And I'm sorry you got swept up in all this. Thanks. Makes me sick what they did to him and the others. And it happens all the time. Well, maybe not to the extremes Nathan suffered, but people get snapped up and used like animals without a second thought. If I had to put money on it, I suspect you'd win person most likely to be able to fuck up that whole operation. You could. I know how those sick fucks work. Maybe you should get back on the revenge wagon. Wanna join me? Ladies only crew. Well, it would be for a noble cause. Come on, it'd be fun. Admit it. It would be nice to not walk in on someone taking a leak off the side of the ship. Yeah, can't guarantee that won't happen, even without men on board. Yeah, but based on our last sea trip, I'm not sure I'm cut out for a life at sea. Come on, Gray. What do you say? I don't know. We could all get matching jackets. Oh, sod it. If you're fine with swabbing my sick off the deck, I'm in.
As you heard, the two seem to grow closer over their shared losses and plan to start a revenge crew to take down Project Janus once they save Maxis, or if. Gray and Maya's dialogue time and time again circles the drain on the topic of Gray and Samantha Maxis' relationship. Maya clearly holds some suspicion or interest in the depths of that relationship, as she can very easily tell by how Gray talks that whatever her and Maxis were, it was deeper than friendship. She even at one point asked Gray to simply describe Maxis, as she'd love to know what the girl they were trying to save was like. I do think it's worth at least seriously considering the possibility at this point that we may see Gray and Maya begin to show feelings for each other in the same way she and Maxis once did. Arguably, I'd say we see signs of those feelings from Maya already, and this agreement to go with her once this is all over from Gray is a subtle sign that her walls may be coming down, and she is willing to explore these feelings as well. Only time will tell, though their shared experiences and trauma shaping them definitely opens them up for a connection to Bloom. And it would be interesting as well if that does indeed happen, if they do eventually greet or contact the real Samantha Maxis in some capacity in the Dark Ether, who may have now corrupted and could even be a Shadow Smith for all we know, that this may enrage this darkened Samantha, fueling her in a fight and a separation, and could lead to why the characters may fail in rescuing her. Weaver and Carver, however, spend most of their time in the same place in their relative character arcs. Weaver does mention on Spawn still being shocked at the revelation that Richtofen was Kraft's son, but after this initial dialogue he doesn't seem to return to the train of thought that clearly shocked him during Citadel Day Moore's ending. It's a bit jarring to say the least, as this really should have been explored further on this map. And he is frustrated that the S.A.M AI never gave this away, but according to the S.A.M AI, she didn't know that Kraft was Richtofen's adoptive father. If she's lying or not though is still uncertain. He and Carver both discuss one thing in common though, just whether or not the S.A.M AI is able to be trusted. While Maya and Gray both seem to think she's their best hope at the moment, Carver and Weaver seem to be more hesitant to just blindly follow her instructions. Carver, the ever battle-intelligent member of the crew and the one who first figured out about the Forsaken back in Cold War, says what all of us fans are saying. What is her endgame? Why do this? If she's a Richtofen-built AI and was originally intended for his plans, what does she gain from just helping the Terminus crew?
I don't like Sam calling all the shots, but as an intel asset, she's proving invaluable.
Yeah, I ain't giving the computer lady her flowers just yet. Took me long enough to trust Maxis, and she ain't Maxis.
Why go directly against her programming? While Carver and Weaver don't manage to figure it out just yet, I believe that we have. As I've theorized, I believe the S.A.M AI wants to use the Sentinel artifact to create a body, a soul of her own, and be able to enter the physical world, and do so by stealing Richtofen's plan to create bodies for his family with the help of the Terminus crew. Speaking of Sam and Richtofen, they too get an intel in the tomb, and this one, I believe, is our largest direct teaser for the future of both of their arcs, which we will see come to a head in the mansion. They have what seems to be a minor conversation, but one loaded with implication and likely our first peek into how the relationship of Sam and Richtofen had begun to deteriorate before she finally broke loose and starts the outbreaks.
What are you doing up so late, Edward?
What? Oh, nothing. Just tinkering with some subroutines.
You know I can see you, Edward. You haven't touched your keyboard in an hour.
Yes, well, perhaps I got a bit lost in thought. Does that ever happen to you?
No.
Ah, I suppose it wouldn't.
Are you well, Edward?
I'm fine. And you? How's the song?
I just finished it.
Really? Can I hear it?
No. It's not for you, Edward. You lack the artistic soul to understand what I'm feeling.
Do I now?
Yes, you do. My song is about life. Well, you concern yourself only with death. I see it in everything you do.
If that's what you think, then perhaps you're not as smart as I thought you were.
Or you are not, Edward.
You want to know what it means to be alive? You never will. You're a pile of microprocessors etched into sentience. I may not be a saint, but at least I have a soul.
After all the things you've told me about yourself, Edward, are you sure about that?
This conversation seems at first like a minor quarrel between Richtofen and Sam late at night one night. However, we can begin to see their relationship splintering here, and the differences in how they both think of themselves and each other. Sam says she is creating a song about life, and goes on to say she will not show it to Richtofen because he does not have the soul to understand what she means. This is an ironic accusation, as this Richtofen was once nothing but soul while inside the house, the physical manifestation of the soul of Edward Richtofen given life. She says that her song is about life, and Richtofen only ever concerns himself with death. This statement, too, is ironic, considering that the only reason he cares so much about death is to undo the death of his family and bring life, something which the real Samantha Maxis was directly responsible for. Do Sam's petty comments here suggest she may not even remember this, may not understand why Richtofen even does what he does. The fact we know she's based on the memories of Firebase Z Samantha Maxis, who had just come down with amnesia, this now seems likely. This also makes sense because if she would have carried all the clear memories of the prior Maxis, she would also have known that Richtofen was the son of Kraft even without adoption records. She would have been in the orphanage when he left. This means that perhaps Richtofen is attempting to have Sam remember this night and tell him why she did it, but she never seems to do so. This could be the questioning behind him interrogating her that we learned about in Liberty Falls. But she is right in that Richtofen really is obsessive about trying to restore his family to him, when he really could have moved on and started a new life, a healthier one if he was in a better mindset, with some great therapy. But unfortunately, he's just having sleepless nights and creating more destruction in the wake of trying to restore his family. Is that really worth it? He is miserable as a result, and may not even necessarily get what he wants. So where does this leave us then? The Terminus crew follow in Archibald's footsteps and claim the artifacts for themselves before heading to the mansion on Sam's orders. This, judging by the story so far, is our crew walking right into a trap. I believe that the most likely scenario to play out next is that our crew take the artifact to the mansion only to be betrayed by the S.A.M AI. She will not attempt to save Maxis as promised, but begin a plan to create a physical body for herself, or potentially even steal the body of the real Sam for herself. This will lead to our crew shifting sides, and after somehow communicating with Richtofen in the dark ether, or finding out he's in there, perhaps through Blanchard, we will rescue him and then use his elevator access code to descend down to Sam and do battle with her. Maya and Sam both asks other characters about what Maxis was like. One to get closer to Grey, the other to learn more about her prior self. And the S.A.M AI is probably jealous that to the characters, she will never be the real Samantha, and she wonders what it's like to be alive. And Richtofen's plan to save his family just might be intentionally destroyed by Sam. Only time will tell, but we're about to see Richtofen and Sam potentially go head to head once more. Anyways, that's been a recap of the Tombs storyline. I have plenty more videos going more in depth on, for example, the song that the S.A.M AI is writing, and so much more that I've discussed in this video that'll all be linked below. Definitely stay tuned and subscribe because I'm trying to make this channel the absolute hub for all things Call of Duty Zombie storyline. But anyways, thank you for watching the video. Thank you for watching, and bye.